going on, growers? It's James Prigioni coming to you live from Jersey. Today, me and Tuck want to share with you how we filled the deep raised bed for super cheap and let you know whether or not it was worth it. Let's go! Last year, I put this Birdies raised bed in, and when putting it together, I realized that it was too tall to fill the whole thing with quality soil. It would just be too expensive to do that. So what I decided to do was use an old school gardening technique where you fill the bottom of the bed with logs and sticks. This style of gardening is known as huglekultur. I first learned about huglekultur when reading the book Permaculture by Sepp Holzer. Sepp lived in the Austrian Alps on a steep slope, and what he did was use cut down trees and shrubs. Then he would bury them, cover them with organic matter, and then cover that organic matter with topsoil. He would use these to form raised bed terrace gardens. I tried this technique out about 9 years ago in this location in the back of my food forest, but after a couple years, I had to remove the bed because it wasn't creating a good growing environment. My issue was I shaped the beds like Sepp Holzer did in a hill fashion. And what happened was every time it rained, the water would just go off the sides of the hill and wouldn't be able to seep into the bed. Now, this hill fashion worked perfect for Sepp Holzer because he was on a slope. So when it rained, the water would go down the slope, hit his raised bed, and then seep into the soil. In my situation, the beds would dry out super quick in the summer and would never have enough time for the water to actually seep into the beds and be absorbed and allow those logs to kind of become like water batteries charged full of water. For the raised bed, I thought things would be different because the raised beds almost act like a large bucket where all the water and all the rain that falls into this bed stays within the bed. And it also makes it a lot easier to water, as opposed to my raised bed hills that I built in the back. Those huglekultur beds were more like hills, so the water would just, push off the sides. So in a situation like this, any water that drops into this bed stays in the bed, so it allows it to be able to absorb moisture a lot easier. Me and Tuck wanted to let you know that Epic Gardening is having a massive Black Friday sale on his whole website, including the Birdies raised beds. So if you want to get a bed that's reliable and will last a long time, now is the time to do it. Make sure you use the specific promo code at checkout, Tuck-Black Friday 5, and you'll get a $100 gift card for every $500 you spend. There's also a specific bundle, the James Prigioni bundle on there, that shows my favorite gardening products, so make sure you check it out when you go over. I didn't want to fill the whole raised bed with quality soil because that would have been really expensive. Plus, most annuals, they only need about 12 or 18 inches of soil in order to grow well. So that leaves about 1.5 feet of space that I don't need quality soil in because most plants' roots won't even reach that deep. You may ask, why not just fill the bottom of the bed with native soil? Well, I think my native soil is a little too dense. And if it's too dense, then the bed won't drain as well, and the soil also won't be able to breathe as well. So roots need oxygen in order to survive. That's why soil structure is so important. Soil with good structure has tiny little air pockets in it, which allow the roots to find some air to breathe and also for water to drain through nicely. Instead, I wanted to fill the bed with something that's free and accessible, that will break down over time and will improve the overall soil structure as it decays. That's why I went with logs and sticks. What I did was I saved the logs and sticks from an old pear tree that I removed because it wasn't producing well. Then I took those logs, I put them at the base of my bed, put some sticks on top of that, and then on top of that I put some smaller sticks and some brambles. While I was doing that, I added some brambles that still had a little bit of greens in them, so I let the bed sit for a couple weeks until those greens turned to brown material before I actually put the soil on top of that. We're trying to work in the back, making a video about the raised bed. This guy is out and about exploring, hunting for his own snacks, so we don't even have to get this guy snacks. He'll dig them up himself. Looks like he's trying to grab himself a carrot. He's got one. It's so hilarious. This guy, if we're not paying enough attention to him, he'll find his own snacks, he'll start eating, and he'll just have lunch without us. It's so cute and funny how he takes off the tip here. He always takes that off because his nose is not a good part. And he's smart enough to know that it's getting colder out and the carrots are getting much sweeter. If you love seeing the boss in the videos, spam some hearts down low. The last thing you want to do is bury a bunch of green and brown material together. Like, you don't want to bury a bunch of like green leaves and grass clippings with some like brown leaves, because what you will do is initiate the composting process. If that happens and you put soil on top of that, then you're going to create what's called a soil stomachache. So if you use any greens in your deep raised bed, make sure you allow them some time to turn to browns before you actually bury them with the soil. After the greens dried out, I gathered some soil from my chicken pen and used that to fill in the gaps between the branches. I also wanted to do this because it gave my plants something to root into if they grew deeper than the 12 to 18 inches of quality soil that I had. After that, I stomped on the soil to fill most of the gaps between the branches and then started to fill it with my homemade soil. 4 months later, spring was here, and I began planting my early spring greens into this bed like spinach. The spinach ended up growing fantastic and was the biggest and healthiest spinach that I had ever grown. This was an encouraging sign for me because spinach has a pretty long taproot. As the season went on, I was able to grab multiple harvests from this one location. It started in the spring where I got a bunch of spinaches, lettuces, and some cabbages from this location. I grew some of the most fantastic cabbage and brassicas that I've ever grown, huge, beautiful heads. Then when we went into summer, we were grabbing things like dragon tongue beans from this spot. Now that we're in fall, we've got another round of brassicas growing. We've got lettuces and all different kind of cold hardy greens that will be able to grow through the winter. So it's apparent to me that not only did we save a bunch of money by not filling the whole entire bed with soil, but we also created an ideal growing environment for all different kinds of annuals. Overall, I'm happy with the way the bed came out and how well everything is growing. Some of the benefits of burning the wood is that the wood is free and easily accessible. Also, the wood will break down over time into humus and help build a better overall soil structure. Another thing is that those big logs down there will in time turn into like water batteries. So when the logs start to rot, they'll be able to hold moisture. And in the fall or winter during the wet season, the logs are gonna get a lot of that moisture, hold on to it, and then later in the season, say come summer or something, if the bed gets too dry and these roots are deep enough, they'll be able to go down and grab some of that moisture from those moisture battery logs. So was it worth it filling the bed with logs and sticks? I would say absolutely. It's essential if you want to save money to fill the bed with something. We only had to use about 12 or 18 inches basically of quality soil. So about only 1/3 of the bed is filled with good soil, but we still get the benefit of the whole bed being filled. Also, we get some of the added benefits that could come from burying the wood. One thing that I would have done differently is it would have been nice to add some logs that were already rotting instead of adding some logs from trees that I basically just cut down. The reason for this is these logs, they need moisture to actually break down because it's the fungi that are going to break the logs down. So if I had already added logs that were either rotting, or if I had soaked my logs before I put them into the bed, then I would have got that added benefit of those logs turning into water batteries a lot sooner. So if I was to do it in the future, maybe some preparation would have went a decent long way. Maybe the year before I cut the tree down, then I let the logs rot and soak them in water before I put them in the bed, just to kind of speed up the decaying process and that water battery creation process that happens with the logs. That's one reason why we need some air in the soil too, which is why soil structure is so important, because the fungi also need some oxygen. So they need the water and the oxygen so that they can actually start breaking down the wood. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. This was a fun video for me and Tuck to make, and we didn't want to just show you what we did. We wanted to also explain kind of why we did it and why we think it worked. To do that, I wanted to explain like how I did this hugel culture method in the past and why it didn't work, and then kind of bring some clarity to why it did work. So I know this video could have been like maybe a little heady and maybe a little more wordy than some of my other videos. It wasn't just directly how to do it, but I still hope that it brought you guys some value and that you got some, something actually out of it that you can apply into the garden. Mine and Tuck's goal is to do whatever we can to encourage you to grow more food and also to save you money in the process. This way itself is more encouraging. So we think by taking a deep raised bed, burying a bunch of logs underneath it, not only are you saving money, but you're getting so many added benefits. It's almost like it's like a no-brainer to actually do it. So I had a blast out here. I know Tuck did too. We wanted to thank you guys for coming along with us and just enjoying the garden. We wanted to mention to grab some of the merch. Grab a shirt, a fall grow shirt, a sweatshirt, anything you want to support the channel down at jamesprigioni.com. We also wanted to thank one of our channel members, Virginia Satterwhite Moore. Thanks for being a part of Team Grow. Thanks for having your hand in, everything we do back here. It means so much to me and the boss, and we just can't thank you guys enough for your continued support. James and Tuck will be back at you again real soon. We out.